Welcome to the Sent from Disneyland podcast.
Here age relives fond memories of the past.
If it's your first time joining us, welcome. On this podcast, we'll take a journey into the past and explore Disneyland and Disneyland history with mementos, snapshots, and postcards sent from Disneyland from 1955 to the present. The postcards from this episode will be viewable on Instagram at Sent from Disneyland or on my website, sentfromdisneyland.com. Today I'm starting off by thanking my patrons from patreon.com. You can join in and receive mail from my desk or for my trips to Disneyland. I'm currently working on some new patron benefits. Patrons can sign up for as little as $1 per month. Special thanks to Random Olive, the first patron to this podcast, and to the e-ticket patrons Tania, Eric Daniels, Monica Seitz Vega, Joe Gamble, Scott Booker, Russ Romano, Michael and Christina Cross, and Mary Henderson. C-ticket patrons Serious Inquiries Only, Debbie Weinstein, Jennifer Schneep, Ruby McDowell, Grace Coate, Scott Cagle, and Ben and Noel Bruning. B-ticket patron the Disney Rewind podcast, and to the A-ticket patrons Elise Sharp, Zealot Infinity, Claire Voigtlander, Alexis Robles, Maggie and Henry Byers, Angelica Nablock, the All Aboard podcast, and Ana Fiches de Lectores. I am your host, your post-host Clocky, and today we have 2 postcards sent from Disneyland. The front of our first postcard has the omnibus parked in Town Square. You can see City Hall in the background, and the horse-drawn streetcar on the other side of the road closer to the flagpole. On the back it reads, Disneyland Omnibus. Disneyland's 5/8 scale double-decker omnibus carries hundreds of passengers daily on a fun-filled tour. Camera fans especially like the unique angles the omnibus's second deck provides. It's postmarked November 5th, 1978, with an Anaheim cancel and a 13-cent Liberty Bell Proclaim Liberty Throughout the Land postage stamp, Scott number 1595. I assume they visit the park on Saturday, November 4th, when park hours were from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. The weather was a high of 83 and a low of 56. It's addressed to a Mrs. Fred Bishop of Oakland, California. It reads, Saturday 4th. Dear Mom, we are here today and tomorrow. Do you remember having a ride on this? Abe and I are still getting things fixed. We'll be home Tuesday or Wednesday. Love, Mon and Abe. The omnibus on the front of this postcard is pointed directly at the Bank of Main Street. Although the bank is long gone and the location is now a store, the register is still styled like a bank teller window and there is still a vault. The vault is now used to display merchandise, usually a high-priced art piece. The bank used to be used to exchange currency, including a unique currency. On May 5th, 1987, Disney introduced Disney dollars. The first Disney dollars were pale blue with a white border and imitated the look of the US dollar, with Mickey Mouse front and center and Scrooge McDuck's signature as the treasurer. Sleeping Beauty's castle was depicted on the back of the dollar. On the first day they were issued, it's estimated that Disneyland guests purchased 60,000 Disney dollars. The Disney dollar expanded to Walt Disney World and to the Disney stores. Like US currency, the Disney dollars have serial numbers, special watermarks, and other anti-counterfeiting measures. Looking at my collection of Disney dollars, I can see a line of holographic dots on the front of the dollars that I have from 1998. You can also feel the raised printing on the classic 3-circle Mickey above Scrooge's signature. Also similar to US currency, there are marks to know where the Disney dollar was distributed. If the serial number has a D before the number sequence, it was delivered and sold at Disneyland. But if it has an A, it was distributed at Walt Disney World. Disney didn't stop at the dollar. There were also 5s, 10s, and even $50 bills made. Although still valid currency at the parks, Disney stopped producing Disney dollars in May of 2016. I look at a lot of the same stamps on most of my postcards. This week's stamps are a little different. I've seen similar stamps on Etsy at Enfield Post. I love that I can hop onto Enfield Post to find stamps to recreate old postcards to match my collection. Starting March 1st, you can head over to Etsy and explore all the different vintage stamps you can use on your next card or letter. That's ENFIELDPOST on Etsy and Instagram for your wedding and vintage postage needs. Enfield Post is the official postage stamp sponsor of the Sent from Disneyland podcast. The front of our next postcard has 5 images on it. On the upper left, there are 4 Can-Can girls dancing on the stage of the Golden Horseshoe. Centered on the top is an image of Mickey and Minnie at the flower shop. And on the upper right is Monorail Yellow passing over the Nautilus submarine and the submarine lagoon. On the bottom there's an image of the Main Street Railroad Station and the 5 Bear Rugs playing in the Country Bear Jamboree. On the back it reads, Disneyland, a magical realm of fantasy, adventure, music, and fun. It's postmarked May 30th, 1989, with an Anaheim cancel and a 25-cent Bread Wagon 1880s postage stamp, Scott number 2136. I assume they visited the park on Memorial Day, May 29th, when park hours were from 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. The weather was a high of 74 and a low of 58. Park attendance that day was likely around 40 to 50,000. It's addressed to Nan Newman of Studio City, California. It reads, I'm writing this on my lap. Hi-ho, well, it's been forever since we've been here. Thought there'd be super crowds, but not bad at all for a holiday. Hope your birthday month has been great. Talk to Jack Delpit, Mike Block, back with Julie at a 67. Liz. P.S. Joe Brown died. Cancer. So I mentioned on Geek's Corner that I have an almanac that has 65 years of information on Disneyland's hours, the weather in Anaheim, and for some days, the park's attendance. When I went to look up the park hours for this postcard, I found there were some days, just under 800 of them, which the data compilers did not have access. Luckily, I have some old park maps and time guides and a copy of the first official Disneyland guide by Steve Birnbaum. The official guide was for 1989 and included likely park hours and estimated attendance to help travelers know when to book their vacations. The page with the park hours also included ticket prices: $21.50 for adults, $16.50 for children 3 to 11. Guided tours were $8.50 for adults and $6.50 for kids, and annual passports were $140 for adults and $105 for kids. To pay for the tickets, guests could use cash, traveler's checks, personal checks, American Express, Visa, and MasterCard. Flipping through the book, there are some interesting off-property suggestions, including the Hobby City Doll and Toy Museum, which was located 4 miles from Disneyland in a half-scale replica of the White House and housed over 6,000 dolls. I can't find any details when it closed, but the location is now part of the Adventure City amusement park. This incoming postcard is sponsored by the Art Throwdown. Art Throwdown, or ATD, is an online craft hour on Instagram, starting at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 Pacific. I missed watching Monday's ATD hosted by paper artist Russ Romano, but I did catch a replay of Wednesday's ATD where Nan was doing some fun paper art to look like a paper quilt postcard. Each host brings something a little different to each show. I'll list some of the regular hosts, or you can follow Russ Romano 2021 on Instagram. The front of my incoming postcard is printed with the word Imblok and is stamped with a purple Love and Peace rubber stamp. Most of the postcard has been pressed with a gradient of pink with some darker gray areas, and attached to the front is a piece of fabric and a glittery heart. On the back it reads, Leave a piece of cloth outside the evening of February 1st, and Bridget will bring blessings to your household. I left this piece outside my home on the Irish Loop in Newfoundland, Canada, on January 31st, 2022. It's postmarked February 1st, 2022, with a St. Vincent, Newfoundland whale cancel and 2 postage stamps, a Margaret Atwood stamp that has her image plus the quote, "A word after word after word is power," and a fun illustrated stamp of 3 mailboxes, one in the shape of a cow. It reads, Hi Clocky, I talked about the card you sent on episode 126 with Frank. It arrived last week after recording. Peace, Orla. Thank you so much, Orla, for letting me know that the card made it there. Orla asked a favor the last time I was in Disneyland to send a postcard, and as I enjoy a fun adventure or task, I took on the challenge. I was lucky to meet an amazing cast member who was working with Mickey and his pals, and asked nicely if they could sign the postcard for a friend. Due to current safety precautions, characters are not signing autographs in the park. The cast member came back with my card filled with signatures from Mickey, Minnie, Donald, Daisy, Goofy, Pluto, and Chip and Dale, all of whom had just finished parading with the Disneyland band. Orla talked about the postcard on the Postcardist podcast, and it reminded me to say here what Frank, the Postcardist host, says at the end of his podcast, which is, Postcards connect people. Thanks for listening to Sent from Disneyland. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe and tell your friends. It would be awesome to share your favorite episode. There are over 100 episodes to choose from. It would also help to leave a 5-star rating and comment at whatever podcast platform you use. If you'd like to support the show financially, please check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/sentfromdisneyland. You can find me on Instagram and Facebook at Sent From Disneyland, or on Twitter at Sent From Disney. For questions and comments, send me a postcard addressed to Sent From Disneyland, P.O. Box 44, Hood, California, 95639. This podcast is not affiliated with Disney, the United States Postal Service, or any post office or Disney properties. Opinions expressed on this podcast belong to its host and guests of the Sent from Disneyland podcast.